All right. Don't have anybody new. Um, we have 12 photos, and there's an old saying about meetings that they tend to expand to fill the time allowable. So maybe 12 will take us to 12:30. But and I said to Helen and Larry a little bit ago that we get to the photos and they're going to knock your socks off. Some really, really nice things. So, any announcements before we head to Bill again, our educational director?
Thing I want to bring up is that I was going to do that workshop over again, and I was hoping at the end of September, but I don't think it's going to happen that soon. It may be something more like the first week of November. We've got some things going on here, some vacations, so instead of doing it sooner, I'd rather do it later, and hopefully more people will be out of the travel mode in November as well. So, except KeyCab, who knows?
That's right. Welcome back, Keycap.
Yeah,
You're on
and
mute.
and Mike B as well. Thanks for showing up today, Mike.
Hey,
Hey, Mike.
good to see you. Can't hear you. You're muted.
Mute
There
there.
you go.
Yeah, good to be here. It's
Better.
been doing a lot of coddywampling this summer, which has kept me from meetings and stuff. But
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to see my coddywample photos.
Well, glad that you're back. So, and Bill again has taken over the tips and tricks. You ready to go, Bill?
Sure.
Have at it.
Our next challenge is water. That's a big, wide expanse of options and opportunities. It can be everything from a drop of water falling into a cup. It can be a waterfalls. It can be lakes. It can be rain, the beach. I'll be there in October, but just it's one of those subjects that's going to give us a lot of flexibility of what we want to try to achieve for it. So what I was going to talk about is probably a little bit more about shutter speed and the possibility of using something like a neutral density filter. And for those people who might want to photograph a moving, like a river or waterfalls or so, the one thing that becomes really something you need to be concerned about is your shutter speed. Chuck had a great image of not a waterfalls, but I think it was some kind of like a river or creek or so.
It was like a creek.
Slowed down the shutter enough so that it become nice and smooth. Where if he took it at a higher shutter speed, it would have been just probably a sharp, clear water coming over some rocks. And I believe the shutter speed was somewhere around about 1/15 or 1/8 of a second, which gave the ability to allow the water to pass by his sensor as the shutter was open. So it gave it that nice smooth look. So if you're going to go for something like a waterfalls or some kind of moving, take the shot the way you like it and think about it a little bit. Can I turn the shutter speed down a little bit and maybe get a whole different look on it? And sometimes that gets a little tough when it comes to being out in the daylight, because sometimes it's just too bright. Let me bring something up here. I was a little behind the 8 ball this morning, so let's see.
Glad I wasn't the only one.
Yeah, I'm usually on a little faster than the last few seconds there. Okay, let me get this up. Share screen. Go to here. Does everybody,
Mhm.
We see it.
okay. Neutral density filter is a good way of, if you're in a bright situation, to be able to put this on your camera. What a neutral density filter does, it restricts the amount of light coming through the lens. So you can see here on this, where the ND8. Now, what I have in front of me here is a variable neutral density filter. And this happens to be the one that I have up here on the screen. The ND8 means that it's going to reduce the amount of light coming through the lens by 3 stops. And for those that were a part of that workshop, we understand that if you reduce the amount of light coming through the lens, something has to change. Either the shutter has to be open longer, or the ISO needs to be raised. But in the case here, what we can do is we can alter the amount of time that shutter needs to be open. So with the ND8, it's 3 stops. And let's see. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, probably not. But on the side of this ND filter, it has little notches. It says ND8. So what's going to happen is you put this on your camera, and if you have your ISO, let's say at the lowest setting, not on automatic, when you put this on, it's going to turn your shutter speed to a longer shutter speed by 3 stops. So if it was 250 when you had this filter off, then it goes down to 125, down to 60, down to 30, just by putting this lens on, the filter on. Then you can slide it over. I don't know if you can see it. This is those kind of things that are nice to be around, but there's a notch there. And what that tells me, it's now at ND16. So what it's now done, it's cut the light coming through the lens in half. So we need to increase the shutter speed. And what did I say last time? 30th?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then it's going to be a 15th of a second. You spin it to the next notch, it goes to ND32, which is another stop. So for every stop, you can cut down the amount of light coming through the lens so that you have that longer shutter speed. And what you see in the water section here is when you only cut it down by 3 stops, you can still see quite a bit of detail. But as you went 1 stop down, 2 stops down, now when you get to the 3, you can see how the water is really smoothing out. And that's because your shutter speed is slowing down, so that while that shutter is open, things are happening. And then when you get to the ND 128 here, it's another stop, you can see how absolutely smooth the water becomes. So the same thing happens with waterfalls. As the water is coming over the falls, you have a higher shutter speed. You might actually stop the action, but by moving that shutter speed slower and slower, and if you have to use an ND filter to make it even slower, it allows the motion of the waterfalls to be seen differently. And differently means, that kind of smooth effect, water cascading over. So of all the neutral density filters, I would actually think of something like this. It's variable. It's from 3 to 7 stop reduction in light, or a 5 stop reduction in light. And, it's adjustable. Some of the other ones are either 10 stops or 5 stops. But this is nice. It has the notches in it. It only lets you go so far. So some of the cheaper ND filters can go beyond the end of it, and there's an X that shows up in your image. So it's good to make sure that you get a neutral density filter that has very specific notches in it, so that you know exactly where you are and it won't go any further.
Bill,
Yeah.
how much does that 5-stop one cost?
Oh, this one here?
Yeah,
I think it was about 70.
oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, and it depends on the size of your lens filter. Yeah, I happen to have my next largest lens has an 82 millimeter thread on it.
Yeah,
So I got the 82 so that I can, we talked about before, we have these step down adapters that
Yeah.
I can actually put this on my 82 millimeter lens as well as my, I think it's 77 millimeter.
okay,
Yeah, always buy the filter for your largest lens filter. And then you get those stop down rings for cheap. So you can use it on all, one filter on all your lenses.
I have a question.
I got
So
an answer.
when would you use a polarizing filter versus the neutral density filter?
The neutral density filter is specifically to decrease the amount of light coming through your lens onto your shutter, where the circular polarizer is to deal with the water particles out in front of you, to take reflections off of water, reflections off of windows, maybe bring the greens up a little bit. And what a good point here is that a circular polarizer also cuts down a certain amount of light that comes through the lens as well, but it's only somewhere around about 1 or 2 stops of light. So, one is just to stop light from decreasing the amount of light coming through so that you can have a longer shutter speed. And the other one is for dealing with reflections.
Okay.
good.
And Bill,
But there,
I've not looked, but is there a circular filter that is a graduated filter so that there is more darkness, so to speak, at the bottom or at the top?
here we go.
Okay. Yeah, I have a set
it.
of Koken filters, which are square, and it requires
There
a
they
different mount, and I wish I had invested in one like Bill has described, because the Koken filters I have, it's a pretty small but still bulky package to carry around a half a dozen or more of those filters, when the circular would just do the whole job. And if you can get a graduated filter that's circular, so much the better. And what that would do is it would darken the top or darken the bottom, but not the other side of it. So you'd get
Because you
more.
can actually see, if you're seeing me right there now, on the top of the filter, you can
Yep.
see the tree outside.
Yeah,
Because it's cut down the filter, the amount of light coming through. And as I move it down,
And Bill, you're still sharing your screen.
oh,
But I can see it on your picture. I can see.
I
Yeah.
can see it on the thumbnail as well.
Yeah,
yeah, you can see how,
yeah, definitely.
so that's good for things like if you're doing a seascape, if you're doing something where the sky is a lot brighter than maybe the water or a valley or something, if you're doing a landscape. So you can use something like this graduated filter so that just the top of it becomes a little darker. You may be able to see a lot more of the clouds instead of them being washed out. But then you won't be affecting what's on the bottom, which probably properly exposed. Let's see. And what I did here is we kind of went over the word full stops when we had the workshop. So what I decided to do here is to just put kind of a list of the nomenclature that they use on these filters. Like right here, the ND8, that was the number, the lowest number that I had on the filter. And that represents 3 full stops of light. So as you go.
Can you switch to the other slide?
Oh, it didn't switch?
No.
No,
No, still on the original one you had.
Ah, a little troublemaker.
hey, Mary, you snuck in on us.
Hi, I was late, but I was cleaning my closet.
Oh,
Come do mine.
no wonder you're here.
What am I doing? Is that better?
Yep.
That's it.
Got it.
Yeah. So if you have no neutral density filter on your lens, you're just all the light is coming through. And if you go to ND2, that's 1 stop of light. ND4, 2 stops of light. ND8, which is the first number that's on my lens, is 3 stops. And as we went through that workshop that time, we know that stops when you either add twice as, let's see, you either double the amount of light that comes through or you have it. And what we're doing here is we're having the light. So when I go to put this filter on my lens, ND2 would be 1 stop of light reduction, which means it would cut it in half, the amount of light that's coming through the lens. The ND4 goes to 2 stops, which means it halves the amount of light again. And then when we go to the ND8, it halves it again. So that means that what we're going to have to do, whatever we started off with our shutter speed, we're now going to have to extend it longer by 3 stops. So if you start off at, say, 250, you go to 125, you go to 60, and you go to 30. So the higher the amount of stops that you have on the ND filter, the longer you can extend your shutter. And what that simply means then is that you're going to have the shutter open longer. Your subject is going to be passing over that image longer while the shutter is open, and you'll get this kind of smooth look to, say, moving water.
And so you better be using a tripod, right?
Yeah.
That is absolutely correct. You need a tripod. You have to remember to shut off your vibration reduction or your image IS, your image stabilization for Canon, your OSS for Canon, just to make sure that everything is really, really solid and stable. I would also suggest to use the 2-second timer on your camera as well, so that after you push the button down all the way, you let it go and it lets everything stabilize and it'll take the picture for you. Self timers normally can be set at 2 seconds or 5 seconds or up to 10 seconds. But what I find out that if I put it to 5 seconds, I'm sitting there wondering if it's going to go off. I'm a little impatient. And 2 seconds is fine.
Bill, can you send me these and I'll send them out with the notes?
Absolutely. But this was, I had to investigate some of this myself as far as the stops and the nomenclature on the side and what it meant. And I realized that it fit right in with our workshop on light. You know, we talked about shutter speeds, what a full stop was when you have the light or you double the light. And this fits exactly the same thing. So, you know, it's just a continuation on of understanding light and realizing that these are also stops as well.
So, Bill, a really important question. Are you getting a discount at B&H or someplace like that for selling us all this stuff?
Oh, I wish
Every-
I had
every-
affiliate links.
I think every time you do something, it costs me money.
All these,
Well,
all these people with gas.
Yeah. Gear acquisition
and one thing,
syndrome.
and one thing you can think of too is when oh, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, the other option, now these have to be screwed on the front of your lens. They also have circular polarizers and ND filters or any kind of filters that are magnetic. So you can actually, on your lens, you'll put this little receiver and then the filter will be magnetic and you just put it on.
Okay.
Because some people will end up fumbling, they might be in a rush to do things. They're getting more and more popular. So, you know, if you would prefer to just be able to put it on, it stays tight enough so that you can actually do all the turning of your polarizer or a variable ND filter. But, you know, it's just another way to make our life simpler.
Right.
Question.
Yes.
Have you noticed any degradation in image quality related to the variable ND filter
Actually,
as opposed to the, you know, you can buy them 4, 8, 12, you know, individual filters.
yeah, the only single one that I had was an ND 1000, which is the 10 stop. And I've used that. And there's always going to be, I guess, a certain amount of degradation whenever you put another piece of glass in front of your glass.
Yeah.
The big thing with these filters, and what I would suggest is do a lot of review reading, particularly on something like a B&H or an Adorama, some place where you might get more photographers that are putting reviews in that understand this a little more than somebody like a Scamzon. Because when it comes to neutral density, what's more prevalent is color shift, but it can be fixed in post-processing. But the better you can get the image straight out of the camera is something that you probably should be your goal. So I did a lot of looking at here for this particular one, and it seems like people were very satisfied with that it didn't have the color shift, that it had some stops on it so that you can only turn it so far, because if you turn it too far, all of a sudden you start getting this X that comes through your image. It's a black X. So yeah, I spent a lot of time before I spent this, because I may spend a lot of money at B&H, but I spend a lot more time trying to find the right thing, because I've bought too many wrong things.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Bill. Another good tips and tricks.
And like I said, this is a 82 millimeter. I have a 77 millimeter ring that, you know, if you want to use it on 77 millimeters. So if anybody wants to play around with it, that has a lens that is either 82 or 77 millimeters, just let me know.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
I
again,
have a question.
Yes.
go ahead, Tom.
Is there some, is there some reason why people don't go into Southeast Camera and talk to people in there to get advice on what to buy and to buy it there? Is it strictly a price thing, or are those people not any count? Or I find them to be extremely helpful, and I like to support local businesses as opposed to big New York internet.
Yeah, same here. I've frequented Southeast Camera and Carborough. They're a good shop.
And they got, my understanding is that they've got people who have had a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a pitch for local business.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. The B&H has a credit card that gives some perks that local guys don't do, like you don't pay sales tax because they absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go out and buy a $3,000 body, that's a considerable amount of money.
Right, that can add up.
$1,400 lens. So
right.
Well, shop local if you can. My only issue with Southeastern has been digital scans of film that I've sent given to them for processing. But I think, yeah, there's a lot of expertise there. But
How are they for printing? Anybody had any experience, for printing images?
I did.
used them.
Yeah, I did way back when I did the live and in person on printing and framing. I had them do a print that I used as a part of that, and it was fine. I think they used Fuji equipment and Fuji paper, but I'm not positive about that.
But you are happy with the quality of the print?
Yeah, and it was just an 8 by 10, or it wasn't a huge print, but yeah,
Okay.
I haven't. My experience with them is limited on printing. Just all right.
I've bought camera bags from them and lenses, and they carry Tinba camera bags, which I've come to like. You can get them different sizes, so whenever I get a new motorcycle with a different size side case, I have to take the side case into Southeast Camera and open it up and see which Tinba bags just
Well,
fits. So
another positive for them is that they'll take stuff. I think on consignment. Is that right, Lynn? But you can take them equipment that you have that's used, and they either buy it outright or we'll put it on.
I've traded stuff in with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what you have to realize too is that I was always afraid to buy used lenses. I mean, I had this phobia that was just, I'd see a little dust in it, or I'd see a little scratch on it or so, and it would just always make me say, no, I want to get new. I want to be, have something fresh. But used equipment is actually a good route to take as long as you go to a reputable place. I bought my first used lens just a few months ago. It was the 28 to 300 millimeter for my Nikon. And it looks like brand new. The company that I bought it from listed it as near mint. But when I got it, it was like, it just came out of a brand new box. And the thing is that a little scratch or a little dust doesn't really affect the lens all that much. So, the lens that I had purchased was brand new, would have been, I think it was $975, and I got it for $5 something. And it was like brand new. Yeah.
I've had good luck with B&H for used stuff. And Frank, you've used KEH, haven't you?
I've used KEH, and I've been really happy with them.
Yeah.
And this was from Tokyo, a place called Map Camera. They are like a 5-story building in Tokyo somewhere that's just filled with camera equipment. And I ordered it like on a Tuesday and I got it on a Friday.
Oh my
Can't,
God.
can't beat that.
All right. Well, we ready to do pictures?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I was the one that suggested this challenge, and there was a point at which I was really kind of regretting it because we didn't have a lot of submissions, but we wound up with a good number, and it may have been a stretch, but there are some really, really, really good photos in this group. And let me get my screen up. I don't think I have these in order.
Okay, that's me. Unfortunately, that's me, Bob. So I used a aperture mode. I used a wide angle, had a low aperture 4.5. What I did, I went online and read a little bit, and so I took a saran wrap and a rubber band and put it over the lens, and then a Q-tip and spread Vaseline around the edge. And that's,
Well, that's creative.
yeah, I used a tripod and naturally and had I think it was a 5-second shutter speed. So it took a few tries and I finally got something that it's a tough subject to work with, my face. So anyway,
No, that's great.
that's
Very
kind of what
nice.
I did. And I just turned a light on inside for backlighting. That's
Excellent.
all.
So you put the saran wrap around it, but it really, did you do anything to the outer edges, like blur that or silhouette or anything, or did that?
No, I didn't.
That's
I
the way
did
it came
nothing.
out?
That was the only thing I did is I just used a Q-tip and Vaseline and it took me 2 or 3 tries.
Right, right.
So, because I ended up, it was on, I put too much on and it was, it was over my head. And so a couple, 2 or 3 tries.
At first, I thought it was reverse vignette.
Yes.
I did too.
That you thought it was what? Say again?
You know how some people put a vignette where they put the dark edges around it. You can actually have a reverse where it puts white around it, which is
White
what I thought you.
Oh.
So you got much more creative than I thought. Which is
Yeah,
great.
I did. So
There are places where you can use avatars online, and there are. This is a good one to use for an avatar. Nicely done. I used-
Amazingly creative.
I put the photos in queue based on when they came in, and I for some reason got started with number 2 rather than number 1, and Larry's was the first one in, and I'm going back up to it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love the props. The
Well,
hat.
that's my altar life. I've got.
Yeah, I like
another
your
life.
hat.
Yeah,
it is
Well-
amazingly sharp.
since I don't have much hair, I use the hat, but
Nice lighting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
so
lighting
I-
is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I took the this natural lighting by the front door. And so I set it at it was at aperture priority. So I let the camera do what it does. See, I had on also autofocus. So it brought my ISO all the way up to 3200.
Mhm.
And my f-stop was 5.3 on a 30 millimeter. Well, it said it was 30 millimeter. It's a variable lens, so that's what it came out to.
So I have a question. So you were using the remote
Right.
to activate the shutter. So you had it in your hand and just dropped it and then moved your hand, or how'd you do that?
Well, I had it on the 2-second.
Timer.
Yeah.
So you had it in your hand and activated it and then dropped it?
I guess.
Yeah, you must have activated and then put your hand on the guitar
Right.
Okay,
within 2 seconds, and you had
Right.
plenty of time then. Yeah.
Right.
okay.
Plus he
Great
stuck it in the
picture.
guitar.
And
Yeah. No, it wasn't in the guitar. No.
Is that a D chord? Oh.
and
Right.
Larry,
Um,
what did you do with the background?
Well, there was a picture on the wall which I took down, but besides that,
Okay.
I think it was it's the ISO that really drove it. It's kind of it's sharp on one side and not on another where the light is. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I like that.
How far were you from the wall? How was that pretty close? Were you right
I was right up against it,
up against it? Okay.
and the camera was about, I'd say maybe 3.5, 4 feet.
The sharpness for that ISO is incredible, and the
Yeah.
light on your face is incredible too.
Yeah.
Great
Was the
picture.
it looked like the light was coming from the side, was
Right.
it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's where the door is.
And
So
Larry,
I-
the lighting on this is such that I don't know how you did it without a fill flash. I mean, it is that good.
It's impressive.
Really good. Yeah, especially considering the brim of the hat could have blocked it too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Put
And-
an X on the floor where you took it, and if you ever have to take somebody's portrait, just put them in the same place.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey,
Right.
Larry, do you ever play at ever perform at the farmer's market?
No, I don't, because there are so many other people that are doing that kind of stuff. I just do local jams and things like that. I don't.
Well, Larry, I was about to say that you need to tell us when your next gig is so we can
Right.
come
Right.
put some coin in your hat so that you can buy some of the gear that Bill's talking about.
Right. Actually, from what I hear from my friends that play farmers markets, they generally get paid in food.
Uh-huh.
So when the farmers market is over and they have excess vegetables or whatever, they put it in a bag and they give it to the performers.
Yeah, all the stuff that didn't sell because it wasn't quite ripe or whatever.
Well,
Got to be careful what you eat.
well done, Bill. I mean, Larry.
Yeah.
Larry, that's great.
Yeah, both of these are,
This
Oh,
is-
there's my yeah, let me get to my notes on this 1 second. So that's me, that just this weekend when I was camping, and hang on a second, I gotta go back, I gotta get to my EXIF on that stuff. There it is. Okay, so I was using my my kit lens, which is a 18 to 55 millimeter lens, and I find it real flexible. It works great. So anyway, I set it at a really low ISO. I think I started off trying to do it, with something, one of the either the shutter speed or the aperture on auto, but I ended up going full manual. I put it at 24 millimeters and an ISO of 100, and it was it's an f4, just with the lighting, and it was very cloudy. We had a bunch of rain up there, and I was in Brevard over the weekend, and so aside from riding my bike, the thing I like to do is go camping, and my wife and she was off doing a class, So I was left to my own devices, and what a perfect time to just kind of set this up. And I took several shots, and I didn't do very much correction on this. I maybe just punched the colors up a little bit, and that's about it.
It's
think
it's
terrific.
a little soft, but I mean,
It is a little soft. I was having that issue, and I think maybe it's because it was an f4, so it was pretty wide open. Do you think that was why?
well, I don't know what, yeah, I mean what looks in sharpest focus is the edge of the tarp, the gold part.
Oh, yeah.
That part is probably.
And I did have it on. I did have it on autofocus too, and I thought I had chosen. I did it with. So I chose, I think, either 9 or 12, just to try to get more of myself in focus.
Yep.
Well,
part of
yeah,
I think
that was.
I do you a disservice, Chuck, by maybe enlarging it too much, because you back off to where you might really see it, and it looks fine. But whatever might have happened on this one definitely did not happen on. Whoops.
I'd like to.
This one. Oops.
Wow.
But
No,
I think
I've lost you guys. I don't have your, darn it. I have the Zoom screen. It's like a home screen. I don't know what happened here.
Well, we're looking at, Chuck, we're looking at the 30-year difference in your self-portraits.
And so that one was, let me go back to that one. Took me a little more time to set up. In fact, I did a couple different versions of it, and I ended up choosing this one because again, the one I did previous was a little bit too soft, and so let me back up and say that the original, that black and white image, was one that I had was taken of me like 1975. It was a feature in the Durham Morning Herald, which of course doesn't exist anymore. But there is still, I guess there's still a Durham paper, but I used to work at a place, a sporting goods store right across the street from the paper, and I would eat my lunch. I'd bring my lunch and I'd eat with these guys that were typesetters there. And so they arranged for the feature guy to one time to come out. They couldn't believe that I would ride my bike 30 miles to work. They just couldn't imagine that. And so they, they were proud. Anyway, they got this feature guy to come out, and they did a really nice story. And my parents ended up framing it for me. So I copied that. I just, shot it, which was, I didn't want to take it out of the frame. Because I didn't want to mess with it. It's a very nicely mounted. So I was challenged to shoot it without reflecting off the glass, So I got a decent image of it, and then I'd never done. I was impressed with Michael's talking about the collage, like where you open a file as the canvas and then place images on it. So that was how I came up with the idea, and I'd kind of been meaning to recreate. There's another shot in that story that I found the road, and I know exactly where the photographer took my image, and I was going to recreate the shot. So this is just sort of a somewhat recreation. It's a similar pose, but updated. Yeah.
The new one.
Go ahead,
is the new one's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely
well,
terrific.
Thanks. It's at the pool parking lot in my neighborhood, right across the street from my house. And I thought, this is good light. I can shut it. I can close the aperture down, and I probably can get a sharper image, because I'd done another one on a bike path. It was heavily shaded, and I did use a fill flash, and it came out okay, but it was a little too soft. So this one, I believe it was at 40.
You couldn't have been more spot on with the depth of field. And if you look at your left ear well, on the picture, actually your right ear, but the behind ear compared to the in front ear, the back ear is a little
Yeah.
bit softer, and that's exactly what you want to do on a portrait. You want the back ear disappearing. And if you look at your left knee, that already it's gone soft there. So I mean,
Uh-huh.
and I would,
Well, I just lucked out.
as great as this picture is, I'd still like to see it in black and white.
Yeah.
Mm,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But this is a super shot. Really nicely
Tom,
done.
you were going to say something.
Sorry, what?
You were going to say something and
Oh, no, I wanted to say something about the previous shot, but that's okay. It's just me. Yeah, that one. I just wanted to point out that the fact that it's not sharp is terrific from my point of view, because the mood is
Yep.
enhanced by the fact that it's slightly soft.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
And I think it's a terrific. It just, everything looks so relaxed and pensive, and fits your age, and it really makes me understand you better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a story
Well, that's
behind it.
cool. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I don't know who this guy is. Oh, wait, it's Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is I took this with a selfie at a bar in Durham, and I just kept crapping it down and down and down, and I got it so that it wasn't very sharp. It's ISO 320 f1.8 at 1/30th of a second, and I don't know. I just was messing around with it, and I thought, oh, I like that guy. He looks all right. And I like how the detail in it is broken up. There's almost no detail left. And I guess this thing about getting old, about feeling like I'm being diluted, like I'm melting away, and I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I felt like this might capture that feeling of going away.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and Tom, in terms of the mood you were trying to capture and floating away, etc. The next one's going to come full circle. Are you still there?
I think we lost the internet. I don't know, glitch. Flashing here.
Oh, it came back. I lost internet for a second.
Okay.
We back with you? I would.
Yeah, you're on now.
The lights flickered here, and realized it was gone. I was saying, Tom, that if describing the mood you were in for this one, and what was going on with you causes me to really. I think I reversed the order of the ones you sent to me to put this one first, because what's going on with you really deep down inside seems to be exposed by this one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent.
Amazing,
That is,
amazing.
The lighting is awesome.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's see. Wait a minute. I forget that. Okay, this is ISO 100 f1.8 at a 25th of a second, and I shot it off a mirror. And I guess you have to understand that I spent my whole life as an actor, so I've been in this sort of place many times, and I've done this lots and lots of times. So anyway, that's just me goofing around.
Yeah. And if you were to caption this, is it say aw?
Well, I should point out that the original had a lot of detail, almost all the detail, and then I kind of blew it out so that the detail would disappear and seem more insane.
Yeah, it does. Just super.
Hair on fire might be.
That's right.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Where was the camera if you shot this out of a mirror?
I had it down at my waist, I think,
Mhm.
or lower, just out of the frame.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really sharp.
Yeah, and it looks like you're shooting right on, straight at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know that I had it down below my
Wow.
chest.
Yeah,
But
yeah, good looking up at it.
Well, it's
That
terrific.
is great.
Now, the next one is Helen, and you know, you can take a picture in landscape mode, or you can take it in portrait mode, right?
Yeah.
Well,
That's just me goofing around. I remember the picture that I took of me in the straw hat last
Yeah.
winter. That was enough for me. And I thought, well, you know, if I take a picture myself of a portrait of me, that's a self-portrait. So I just throw that one in just as a gag.
Yes.
Taken
Great.
with my iPhone 13.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Right.
and don't sell yourself short in taking a picture of a picture, because that's just really nice.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really a nice exposure.
It is.
yeah.
Julie.
Yeah.
No,
I
no
was an
glare.
unhappy kid when that was taken. They tried to put me in a pink dress with lace and puff sleeves and make me sit still. And I was not happy, as you can tell. So, but that was more fun than trying to take another self-portrait.
All right.
I
That's
love
great.
it.
Is it an oil painting, Helen?
Yes.
Oh my
'Cause
gosh.
there's no glare.
No,
Yeah, it's a oil.
yeah, because there's no glare off it. Would you just take it in a low light situation or?
There's no glass.
Yeah, no glass, and I just opened the window, the blinds, and turned on the lights in the room, the light lamps, which all have heavy shades on them. And
Well,
was left-
speaking of how glass can distort an image,
that's great.
Bill.
Yeah,
Thank
Whoa.
you.
yeah, this was, yeah, I was thinking that, gee, we have 2 weeks to do this. So of course, I did it like 2 days before it was due.
Right.
And I started looking over some of the videos that I sent out, and it talked about the water. But most of what I saw was people that were either had their whole face inside of a glass or a wine glass or something like that. So I figured maybe something where part of the image is distorted and then some of it shows the real me.
Right.
And I shot this. I mean, the camera was just sitting on a shelf. The water glass was at the end of the shelf, and I just put it on like a 5-second timer. I had to shoot it at a fairly high f-stop, f8, because I was so close. And like we talked about, if you're closer to your subject, your depth of field is less, even if you're shooting at f8. I wanted to make sure that some of the detail of my little bristly mustache and around my eye would be in focus. And I shot it at, let's see, 4,000 ISO and
Mhm.
1/15 of a second. And at first I tried to take some of the pictures where I'd be completely in the glass, but then all of a sudden I just decided just to move left and right a little bit, just to see if I could get some kind of variation. And And then I just stumbled across this, and it was much better in black and white than in color.
Yeah.
And what's strange is I have all these, some of I have some of these Topaz products where you can take out noise and sharpen it and do all kinds of things. I put this image through each one of them, and I swear it didn't know what to do with it. It didn't. I mean, I would put something through sharpening, and then you have a split screen. It makes determine, and it didn't look like it changed. I put it through the noise program. It chose which model to use. I checked it back. It looked the same. So
Mhm.
I may have broken the system with this one, but
Bill, did you use manual mode?
no. It's on aperture priority,
Okay,
but I did use manual focus
okay.
Oh, all right.
because it was having a
So-
little bit of problem. I could have moved my focus point probably over on my head somewhere, but
Mhm.
since I was running back and forth, who knows if I was going to get it right or not. So I figured
Yeah.
I'd just put it on manual. And that's why I shot at f8, just to try to make sure that, the side of my face was going to be relatively in focus. And the thing I just noticed looking at it right now, I have my father's eyelashes or the eyebrows.
Well, another creative
So,
shot.
Bill,
How
Bill,
far,
Yeah.
how far away was the camera, Bill?
Probably about a foot and a half.
Ah,
Yeah, it was a 50 millimeter lens, the nifty 50 that I had on there.
so were you like reaching around the glass and operating the, doing the manual focusing? How did you?
Well,
How
what I
did you-
did is the manual focusing part, what I did is I was looking at the glass of water. And since I was so close to the subject, what I was doing was focusing, and I could see when it stopped focusing at the front of the glass and it started focusing a little further back. And I just stopped it.
okay, all
Ah.
right.
And then with the shutter release, the self timer, I had it on probably 5 or 10 seconds. So once I pressed the button, I just walked around to the edge of the
Right.
little bookcase and just let the magic happen.
I'm surprised you had the patience for 10 seconds, Bill.
Yeah.
I know 10 seconds is a long
It's a
time.
long time. Yeah.
It is.
I was trying to do some. I have a table in the living room that has a glass top. And I was trying to do something at night. And I have one of those little LED lights like Frank had given a little presentation on. And I was putting it underneath. And I run around and 10 seconds, it's like, come on,
Yeah.
come on.
I've got all day.
But if you put it to 5, it wasn't enough. So
Yeah.
5 extra seconds felt like an eternity.
It's really, it feels like an eternity when I forget to switch it off of the self timer.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Next is Key Cobb. If it'll move.
Still looks like Bill.
That's right.
Where is this
I
Key
think the
Cobb?
glasses, how they kind of repeat themselves.
It's,
it
it
didn't come up.
it
Bill.
didn't come up on the screen.
Well,
There
There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, all right. Wow.
is Key.
All right, so this was last summer when we were rafting in the Hula Hula River, which is what you see down there. And I was taking a day hike up to the top of this ridge. You can see the tents down below in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
The only thing I did was erase a little bit. You can see a couple of stems from the flowers kind of reaching up, and I tried to erase the one in the middle that was right in the middle of the tents. But other than that, no other adjustments. This was at landscape mode, 24 millimeters. And you guys were talking about how 10 seconds seems like infinity. Well, when you have to jump over the tussocks and jump down a cliff, little ledge, 10
Yeah.
seconds is not enough time. So the first time I did it, I didn't get there in time. The second time I stumbled, and so this is the third shot.
The stumbling could have been an interesting shot. You're rolling down the hill.
Yeah, there you go.
I won't show you that one.
Did you crop this at all, Key Cobb?
No, not cropped at all.
Yeah.
That was it. So just completely wide angle, 24 millimeters. And so I just set the camera, and because I didn't have a tripod, then I have to find a place where it'll be steady and be able to get the view that I want.
Right.
And so that was part of the problem, moving things around. I still have these flowers in front, the stems of these that, well, I figured it was okay. I'll still get the rest of it. But
I'm wondering, Key Cobb, if two things. If you had a little bit more of your back and shoulders in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And does it tell a different story if you're looking down at the river as opposed to back at the camera?
It does tell a different story. And since I had a couple with my back to it, over to the left, a different setting, and I decided to choose this one. But I think it does present a different view perspective.
Well, it's a good one for your travel log for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I didn't even notice the tents down there, but
Yeah.
wow, you're high up.
Yeah, it's a ways.
Wow.
It'd be pretty easy to straighten it, Kika, so that the water
Well,
doesn't look like
you know, I was looking at it as well, and it looks like that there's a ravine or something between, well, just off to the left of your hand, that looks like that's straight. So I don't. Maybe the background was that. So I don't
But
know.
the water would be
Water has to go
falling all
downhill,
over
so
Yeah.
and it does slope. You can see the slope on the very back does slope down because there are more mountains on the right-hand side, very high ones.
But it couldn't go around that corner like that if it would fall across the land.
Yeah.
Still an excellent shot.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Al.
Next is Frank, and Frank, I don't remember in what order you submitted these, but I picked an order for you.
Oh, go ahead. I'm fine. Yeah, this I did yesterday just before I sent it in because I saw Mike's email saying we only have so many. So I had already submitted one, or I had put one together. So I said, well, I'll go out and try my iPhone. I have an iPhone 11. I said, well, I'll give it a try and see how it is. So this was taken right off my back deck, overlooking the woods. So if I remember correctly, I think I had it on portrait mode, so it blurred out the trees enough in the branches. And like I said, it was on an iPhone 11. It was 1/20th of a second at f/22, which surprised me. And I haven't used the iPhone that much, so I don't know how much adjusting you can do while you're looking at it. And it was an ISO 50. And the only thing I did do is I just moved the clarity down to kind of soften the face and kind of hide some of the imperfections if I could.
Look how sharp that is.
That's
I got the same eyebrows that Bill's got going here.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's a great tool. I mean, if you need a quick headshot or something, I didn't do any cropping. I kind of held it, I held it by hand and popped it. And so it might be a little blurry, but I figure, well, it was a good attempt.
No, I don't think it's blurry at all.
no, it's
Except
sharp.
where it needs to be blurry.
I just updated my iPhone to the iOS 16, And it
Yeah.
lets you, if you touch the topic that you want, it cuts it out immediately. And this one would be amazing. I mean, just touch your face and you could put that anywhere and it really works. It's
Okay.
fun to play with.
The only thing I did do was I touched the screen to focus on the eyes, and then I took it. But it was shot, there was no timer or anything. I just pressed the button and did it.
And
Yeah, whatever the iPhone is doing, like on the left side by your ear,
Mm-hmm.
I guess in that, I don't know if it was a studio mode or a portrait mode, evidently it had trouble identifying what should be in focus and not.
Right, okay.
Because it's either like you got a green.
Yeah, right, if you look at it really
Green worm
close.
crawling down the side of your head there.
well, it's another example, I think, of how the back ear should not be in focus, because I think it's a great shot. I'd crop it differently.
Yeah,
No, but Mike, on the left side of his chin, just below the ear, it looks like the camera didn't know if that should be out of focus or in focus.
Oh yeah, I see now.
And even on the right ear down
going
there,
down the shirt, yeah.
it
Yeah, it's a good shot though.
It's still, how did you make it focus on your eyes and then hold it?
Inside, when I was looking through the viewfinder, if you touch it anywhere, you've got that little green rectangle. So
Yeah,
I moved that to right over the eye.
Yeah,
so
for
you're
anyone
holding-
who,
you were
for
holding
anyone
the
who-
camera at the time.
I'm sorry, what was that, Bill?
You were holding the camera.
I was holding it, so that was tough. I was holding it out and had to
Wow.
press on it and then
Mhm.
hit the button to the shutter.
well, for anyone who has an iPhone and also has an Apple Watch, there's an app on the Apple Watch that allows you to, you can put the iPhone in a tripod,
Okay,
and then on the watch, you can access the camera
Yeah.
and you can focus, you can change the,
Oh wow.
you can change the exposure and select the focus point and then shoot the photo.
Wow.
Amazing.
Didn't know that.
Pretty cool.
Well, Bill, I put this second one second. This is winter chicken dinner. Come on. Now it doesn't want to move.
yeah, it froze up before. All right.
Oh,
Nice.
oh, nice.
Now, what on this one, I used the tripod, obviously, but I used, thanks to Bill in his last presentation, I forgot I had that Canon Connect on my iPhone. So I used that. This was taken, I put a black sheet behind me on the wall. So I was probably about 3 feet in front of that wall. And I had the drapes closed, so it was dark. And then I used that studio light I have, and I mounted it on the camera, but just turned it up. Like I took a couple shots, turning it up and down a little more till I got the lighting that I wanted on there. And let's see what else. Okay, it was taken. I took it with my 80D. It was 50 millimeter, 1/15 of a second, and the ISO was 1000. The f-stop was f5, 4.5. And again, I used that Canon Connect. So there it was great because I could focus and everything, but if I was too close or whatever, I would go back and adjust the focal length, then go back over and sit down and then hold the camera up or the iPhone, the iPhone up, get it set, and then snap the picture. And I put it, just to be safe, so I wasn't moving, I put it on a 2-second delay. So I could press the button and then look up again and, hold your breath.
What really jumps out at me in this one, Frank, it's a great photo, but the catch lights in your eyes, that's part of it. And then there is a term for it in portraitry that I can't recall just now, but it's maybe half light. The way the right, in the terms of the picture, the right side of your picture is dark, That's a technique that some portrait photographers use, and this is what I mean. This is a super.
I think
No, it was fun.
there's some portrait photographers that would be proud to have taken that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well,
No,
well done.
I was glad to play around with that app on the iPhone, because I think I'm gonna use that more often. I just forgot I had it on there.
Well, I'm not sure of whom this next picture is.
So it must,
It's barely
Have me
rec-
and have somebody else
it's
on.
barely recognizable to me. But it was.
Great
I,
shot.
I think this. I can certify that this was a self-portrait, and it actually goes back almost to the day 12 years.
Wow.
And this is
Oh,
one. Had a tripod up on this on a 3-step up porch. Put a rock on the ground and focused on it with the second camera. Hit the delay shutter release and then ran to the rock.
Cool.
And then put a very serious look on your face.
It is
Yeah,
very sensitive.
everything is perfectly exposed.
Yes.
Well, I had
Yeah.
some misgivings about this long ago and far away with some of the bright spots in it. And I think I know now how I could fix that in post. But this was f8, an 80th of a second. ISO was 800, and it was obviously with my 70 to 200 millimeter lens, because it's at 140 rather. But
I just like that look on your face.
Determined.
That's like a
well,
trademark quality.
I only included it because we didn't have very many today. But anyway,
Well,
all
glad you included it.
I'm glad to. I think all of us were tired when this was over because we had shot so many pictures.
well, it's a tough thing
Well
to do.
done.
Even in the videos, the professionals were saying that it kind of got them out of a comfort zone to
Right.
try something like this. So, the fact that we had 12 of them here that, had all different ideas of what an image can be. I mean, it turned out much better, I think, than, maybe some of us thought it might.
Mhm.
well, and all the pictures were on subject, good photos, but there are some of you that took, I think, the best ever of the photographs you shot. So, well done.
Wow.
Very good.
Yes. All right.
Okay, so water next time, right?
Yep.
Water.
Well, don't let the challenge intimidate you. Certainly didn't on this one. So,
Yeah.
And
Any
the
other
thing is, too,
announcements?
maybe with water now, and maybe with hopefully the weather breaking a little bit, if somebody gets a hankering to have a few people show up, maybe we should get a little group together, if there's
agree.
anybody that wants to, try a certain kind of shot and work together as a group.
or just get together at the place in Farrington and have Larry entertain us.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not playing that gig.
So I won't be there in 2 weeks, so I need to get a key and stuff. Maybe to you, Mike, or Helen. I don't know which one of you are be available, or Bill.
When do you leave, Lynn?
A week from today.
A week from today is Tuesday. So,
Yeah,
how about Thursday this week,
okay,
mid-afternoon
where,
at the church or wherever you want? I've got to be,
Okay.
I've got to be over by Lowe's Food.
well, just let me know what time.
Okay. Either probably 2:30 or 4:30.
Okay,
I'll call you.
okay, thank you.
All right. And it may well be that Jeff is going to be there because he's been coming to our live meetings, so it may be that Jeff can manage it.
I don't know
So,
if he has a key.
yeah, he does because he locked us up the last time.
You don't have to have a key to lock you up.
Oh, okay then.
Just walk out.
Yeah.
Just saying. No.
All right.
not- Okay.
Good meeting you all. And
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mike and
Thank you,
Bill.
Mike, for doing that.
All right,
yeah, take
Thank
care,
you.
y'all.
bye.
Bye.
Take it easy.
You will.
Bye-bye.